Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning in from. Welcome to Message to Movement, Winning at Being You. I'm your host, Coach Rogers. This is a space where we have real conversations with people who are using their voice, their experiences, and their purpose to create impact, not just for themselves, but for others. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Dr. Kristilynn Turney. We're going to talk about leadership, transformation, and what it actually looks like to win at being who you are without pretending or performing. If you're watching live, feel free to drop where you're watching from in the comments. Now, let's get into it. Dr. Kristilynn Turney is an award-winning educator, leadership strategist, and TEDx speaker known for transforming schools and inspiring leaders to break barriers and lead with purpose. With more than 20 years of experience in public education, she has served as a teacher, principal, and district-level administrator. Dr. Turney made history as the first Black principal of 2 suburban schools in Ohio, where she led powerful cultural and academic shifts that improved outcomes for students and staff. Today, she works with schools and organizations across the country, from California to the Cayman Islands, helping leaders build strong school cultures, strengthen literacy instruction, and create systems that drive student success. A dynamic storyteller and author, Dr. Turney's signature message is breaking barriers from problem child to principal, challenges leaders and audiences to rethink leadership, equity, and the power of perseverance. Dr. Turney, you're my second guest this month for Women's History Month, so I appreciate you coming on the show, and I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you, Coach Rogers. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for that warm welcome and introduction.
You're welcome. And so let's get right into it. For people meeting you for the first time, who is Dr. Turney beyond the titles in the bio?
Absolutely. So I am a mother, a wife. I am passionate about what I do, and I play a very important role in my family and in my spaces in my church, as well as my sorority, Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And beyond that, I always like to say I'm a teacher first, and that is because I have always been dedicated to teaching and helping others, supporting them, helping them to learn and grow. So that's a little bit about me beyond that bio.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing that. But we're still good. All right. So your signature message is breaking barriers from problem child to principal. What part of that story do people often misunderstand or just simplify too much?
Yeah, I think the biggest part of that really comes from being labeled a problem child. I was very talkative while I was in school. And despite that, I was still active. I was on the cheerleading squad and the dance team and played in the band and ran track. But that label, that stereotype kind of followed me, like, here she comes, she's going to be talkative, you're going to have to move her to the front of the room, like I'm not going to talk to those students either. And then just again, that stereotype that followed me and breaking beyond that. And one of the things that really prompted me to want to become an educator is because I only had a few educators that, first of all, looked like me, but secondly, really championed and pushed me to the level that I needed to be. And so I said, I really didn't have those teachers, but I know that I could be that teacher. And I set out on my journey as an educator to really become ultimately a principal, because I knew that that was where that power lied in helping to shift teachers' mindsets and really having that great impact on students.
So was there a moment like during your schooling where you're like, there was a teacher that saw something in you, that saw that potential in you that the others just weren't seeing? Was there a particular teacher that did that?
Honestly, not really. And that's really sad to say. I know that
Mm.
a lot of other speakers and educators can point to that single teacher who really turned everything for them. And don't get me wrong, I had some great teachers, but I never had one that I truly connected with that said, you know what? This teacher is the turning point for me. And because I didn't have that, I knew that I could be that for students. So that's what I wanted. That's why I wanted to become an educator. And as I said, ultimately a principal, because I knew that I could have those connections with students. But I really didn't for myself in my own personal experiences. And let me also be clear, in the as the teachers that I had, I also had some really good coaches, and I think that is what pushed me more than the teachers in the classroom. So had an amazing band teacher who was also over our dance squad, and also had a wonderful track coach, a couple of track coaches while I was in school that pushed me. But again, that push was in the direction of what I was doing after school and not so much what was happening in school and in the classroom day to day.
So when you describe yourself as, I guess, the problem child, was there anything in particular going on in your life that was maybe influencing that?
Well, I had a very strong and amazing mom, and a strong support system in both my mom and my dad at home. But we grew up in a predominantly white suburban area. As a matter of fact, we were the first Black family on our street. And so I think that there may have been some disconnects. These are the things that we really didn't talk about in the 80s, where there was such a strong focus on having teachers that look like you and being culturally competent and aware in not only your instructional practices, but how you support students. And so that obviously, looking back, was a gap. But I can't say that there were personal challenges or struggles that were going on that directly had an impact on my behavior in the classroom. As I look back with my educator lens, and with my doctorate in educational leadership lens, I look back and I think there were disconnects because teachers didn't see me for who I was and didn't work to say, you know what, this is the type of student this is. And now I have to shift the way I teach to reach this student. I think it was still very much this one size fits all box. And Christy, why can't you just shut up like the rest of your peers? Why can't you just be like the rest of your peers and everything will be right with the world? Instead of saying, she's a little bit different. So let's give her things that will help her explore her curiosity or to be a leader in this classroom situation, and removing that barrier of, hey, she's a problem because she's talkative.
So what do you think about how education looks nowadays compared to back in the day when we were in school, where it was just like, okay, you're going to go into a classroom, open up a book, read a chapter, answer those questions at the end of the chapter, and that was it. Because I always hear people talk about, oh, back in the day, the glory days, school was so good and everything. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts about that, especially as a leader now?
Absolutely. So my question to that is, good for who, right? And even still now, we still obviously have not gotten it all right. And that's evident, in nationwide scores and how students are performing academically. But there are some things that are obviously a lot better. I like, more flexible spaces and opportunities for students to explore and to productively struggle through the content, whether it's through a hands-on activity or whether it's through some type of adaptive learning tool, where obviously we did not have those things. I think teachers now, especially, are more open and receptive, to the diverse needs of students, and they are able to differentiate in their instruction to ensure that, first of all, not that all the students get it, but all of the students feel comfortable and safe in their classrooms to get the content that they are striving to get.
Mm. And so you mentioned, or you've shared with me that you were the first Black principal in a suburban school in Ohio. And
Yes.
so with that, what were some of the realities or challenges that you faced in that position?
Well, it was two schools, a middle school and a high school, separately. And I must say, I had an amazing staff in both of those buildings, an amazing team. Shout out to Fairfield Middle School and Coleraine High School. They were phenomenal, and they supported me in the change process and in the journey. And when I speak about change, I'm talking about changes and shifts in culture, some academic shifts that were coming really from the state, where, the testing models were changing, some of the instructional practices were changing, and of course the tools and the resources were changing along with them. So it was a huge change process, not to mention being the first Black principal and only the third female principal in one of those buildings. That all went into that change process. But when I think about like the realities and the challenges, it was just leading in a time of really uncertainty and change. Again, some of the testing models were changing, some of the resources were changing, the world around us obviously was changing, and the student demographics and populations were changing. And so on that journey with both of my teams, it was pushing and supporting that level of cultural competence, also addressing those achievement gaps. We were getting in more students who had academic gaps, whether it was from a previous district and now they're in our own district, or whether it was from some academic deficiencies that they had within our own district. And so making those shifts to make sure that we were aware and knowing that we could not put them in a box and make them that one size fits all. In the midst of those two principalships, though, I had toddler twins and two school-age children at the same time. So just kind of balancing life and family. And in my second principalship, my mom suddenly passed away. And so balancing that as well. So, that kind of goes all into my story. I have a couple of signature talks and stories, but those all kind of go into that story of how do you lead when all of these things are going on within your building and within the State Department of Education, but then also the things that are going on in your personal life as well.
Mm. Yeah, life keeps moving.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, you still have to be able to function in that capacity. And so I admire you for having, the capacity to do all of that.
Thank you.
And so as a leader, when you came in or when you took over, what were some of the things, what cultural shifts did you prioritize? What did you say, okay, this is what I need to do first before
Absolutely.
we can get to doing this?
Yes. So for starters, valuing teachers' voice and collaboration, and not to suggest that that wasn't a strong area prior to me arriving, but there was some things that we needed to improve upon. And anytime you have a leadership shift, that comes with the territory, right? The shift in culture. Here comes a new person. What are they going to say or do? What are they going to bring? And how might they disrupt the current flow of that? So the biggest piece was let me get staff buy-in, let me connect with my stakeholders, and let me allow them to see me for who I am, what I bring to the table, and the impact that we can have as we collaborate as a team and work toward the same goals in our buildings.
And it seems like, with having to do that, having to come in, and just even to achieve that level of excellence in education, you have to have confidence.
Oh,
And
yes.
so, what helps you have that level of confidence to be able to come in and say, okay, because I always tell people, I said, the thing with education is that you're dealing with some very educated people. You
Mhm,
go to
mhm.
a middle school campus, for example, especially a good sized middle school campus, you're going to have a staff of 60 people
Yeah.
approximately.
Mhm.
All of them got bachelor's degrees.
Yeah.
Probably 20% of them got master's degrees. And so to be able to come in and try to get buy-in can be challenging. And so
Mhm.
I'm curious, where did that confidence come from to be able to step into those situations and lead those people?
Well, for me personally, I think that is just internal, for starters. Just being supported by my family and really working hard in my bachelor's and my master's and my doctorate, and really taking the time to know what a good building looks like, what a strong, effective building looks like, and what leadership moves I have to make in order to do that. And so that confidence came with, hey, I think I got this whole thing about here's what I can do to make an impact. And that wasn't just doing it independently, it was also, how do I draw people into me so that we as a team can have that impact? So it wasn't just, oh, I got this all on my own. And I think that confidence in being able to get people to buy in and to join my causes really goes back to, me and my high school days, for instance, when I was the dance team captain, for instance, and getting others to buy into that. And then again, just taking that staff and saying, here's what we can do together. And together, obviously, we can achieve a lot more.
Nowadays, you're working with school leaders, right? And so, yeah, tell us more about that. What does that look like? How did you get into that?
Yes. Well, that also goes back to that confidence piece. I was very fortunate to be an assistant principal for 4 years under an amazing leader. And I learned a lot from her. Shout out to Winton Woods High School team and Dr. Terry Holden. I learned a lot from them. And so, again, that confidence really started to build. So once I went to Fairfield Middle School, once I got to Colerain High School, I really had a strong foundation under me in the role of a leader. Moving forward, though, once I moved into district office, I was starting to support the middle school principals. And that's where I really start to say, here's how, additionally, how I can transfer my experiences to these principles that now I'm supporting in my role in district office. But even that piece goes back to when I was a building principal and I was working to support assistant principals and saying, hey, here are some things that we can do to help build their leadership capacity, so that it wasn't just I owned everything. This was that a collaborative approach. And so fast forward, as a consultant, I have had the wonderful privilege of working with leaders from California all the way to the Cayman Islands and stops in between, and supporting them in their leadership journey in strategic planning, a focus on those instructional goals, addressing gaps, supporting their continuous improvement plans, and building that strategic plan within that, so that we're taking very quick, actionable steps toward progress so that we're measuring it as we go. And that's an important piece as well, because it wasn't just about, hey, I'm here for a short period of time, let's run this whole race. No, I'm going to help build that so that we can have a sustainable foundation. So even once I leave, you are able to move forward with the strategic plan, the action items, and some of the systems and structures that I help you create as a principal to help continue to transform your building.
So these leaders that you're working with, are they reaching out to you on their own accord, or is it like their leadership saying, hey, we think Dr.
Yes.
Turney can help you, and so we're going to contract her to come in and work with you?
Well, it's a combination of both. I have been very blessed and fortunate that some individuals have reached out to me, some even that I've worked with over the years, and said, hey, you did a fabulous job in coaching me up as an assistant principal or coaching me up as a principal when you were in district leadership. Can you now come to my building or my district to support? So I've had some combination of those, as well as individuals who didn't know me at all, but they've seen some of my videos and my traffic flows on social media, and they've reached out to me, and we've partnered that way. And then there have been other opportunities where districts were like, hey, we are just seeking some amazing leaders to coach our current leaders. And so who's out there? And so threw my hat in the ring on a couple of those and had the wonderful opportunity to get them and to be able to work with, again, schools all the way from California to the Cayman Islands. I've worked with leaders in the state of Wyoming, as well as throughout the state of Ohio and New York City, Chicago, and Michigan. I'm sure there's others, but I can't think of all of them off the top of my head. But it has been a phenomenal journey to now take my experiences and support other leaders as they strive to transform their schools.
You talked about your presence on social media and like your YouTube channel. And so I've looked at your YouTube channel, and I've seen that it's just really grown a lot as of late. And so tell us more about that. Like what type of strategy do you have in place to have grown your YouTube channel at that rate?
Well, Coach Rogers, there's no strategy. I think in this, there's a little bit of luck, but I have had some support in doing that. So I think that's my strategy, finding someone to say, hey, here's the tags and the algorithms and the different things that you need to use, and I'm going to help you. So I think that is kind of that piece of strategy. But it really started for a couple of reasons. I have a close education leader friend who said, you have so many stories and you just need to tell them. You need to put them on YouTube, share them, and make them really a part of you in speaking and sharing, because people want to hear stories. And so it really started that way. And I've just continued to build by sharing those stories and those experiences. And that's what I bring when I go and speak to various districts and schools and even organizations, those stories that draw those connections that allow my viewers and listeners to reflect and to have action steps and to really walk away feeling fulfilled, reflective, and ready to implement ideas and strategies and some of the connections that I've made.
Well, to say that there wasn't a particular strategy, that's like phenomenal growth, because I know people, including myself, that are trying to have a strategy, and it's like we haven't had that type of growth. So you're truly blessed in that regards.
Thank you.
So as we get closer to the end, what gives you hope about education today? Because I'm a former educator, you're an educator, and it seems like it's a national pastime for people just to bash education.
Yes.
Everybody got a got an opinion about what's the problem and what needs to be fixed, and that it needs to go back to how it was back when I was in school, even though, as we all know, hey, they still had a lot of problems back then. I know I
Mhm.
had classmates acting the fool, back in the 80s and stuff when I was in school. And so, yeah, what are your thoughts on education today?
Well, there's always hope, right? And there's
Hmm.
always growth and opportunity. And I think just leaning into the positive shifts that we have continued to make, I think about just as the world has continued to evolve, that has helped us as educators and leaders evolve. And, when you know more and you know better, you continue to do better. And so we think about just in the last 15, 20 years, not even thinking about COVID, we're thinking about the role that AI has played in education. We're thinking about the family structures and how they have shifted and the impact that lack of parental involvement has. We think about various epidemics that are in our communities, drug violence, gang violence, gun violence, all of those kind of play into these shifts. And so to put a blanket statement of, hey, we need to go back to the way things used to be, obviously is going to be very ineffective because the students are not the way they used to be, right? So we have to continue to evolve. But what gives me that level of motivation again is hope and the shifts, and every day there are new ideas, new strategies, and things that we as educators and leaders can do to ensure that we are making the most positive impact on our students that we can in this time. And just knowing that in 5, 10 years, there's going to be something new and different and better that research shows us that we can continue to implement and grow. And we all know we've not arrived. We've not made it there. And will we ever? Who knows? But that work that educators do every day is fueled by passion and hope that we can and we will do and get better.
Man, you touched on so many things right there, the
Oh,
AI
yes.
piece and the
Yep.
parental piece. And no, I think I'm going to go with the parental piece. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm a parent listening, what advice, what words of wisdom would you give me in regards to how I can help my child's education? What I could do to advocate for them and just help them really take advantage of the opportunities that they can experience through their education.
Absolutely. And as an educator with 14-year-old twins, I ask myself that all the time, right? So, with that, if I'm asking these questions, I know that there are other parents out there who might not have the direct connection to education to say, hey, what can I do? The biggest thing that I always suggest is to get involved. Know what the school offers and make as many connections as you possibly can, especially as you are moving your child toward the future. And so, even in speaking with parents, just in social circles, we'll talk about college credit plus courses. And so, some parents will ask me, well, hey, what is that? Well, how do I get my child involved? And so, again, the closer they are to the school and the most connected they can possibly be to the school, they will hear about these opportunities and learn about the resources, and not just college credit plus. It could be about getting their child in a career technical education program and the value that comes with that, or getting their child on an IEP or a 504 to ensure that they are getting the necessary accommodations and modifications that they might need. Anything that they can do to get involved, whether that is following our YouTube channels and learning. I know I get a lot of things that pop up on TikTok. Other parents are sharing ideas, strategies, and then just connecting with the school, whether it's through their social media platforms and or their website, and just trying to connect as much as possible what's going on and how they can support their child or children.
Thank you so much for those words of wisdom. And so we're close to the end. And so you've shared a lot of, again, wisdom and expertise and just insight that comes with your level of experience and education. And so for those people that are looking to learn more about your work, and they may actually want to bring you in and work with their faculty or their leaders, how can people go about getting in touch with you and following you?
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, I am easy to find once you spell my name correctly. So, Dr. Kristilynn Turney, and it's there on the screen. That is my website, www.drkristylynturney.com, all one word. My email address is the same, drkristylynturney@gmail. I'm on LinkedIn, Dr. Kristilynn Turney. Facebook. I'm also on TikTok and Instagram, all under Dr. Kristilynn Turney. So even if you Google me, you can get to my other platforms there as well. And then I know that you will share links after this as well for others to be able to connect with me. And I would love to connect. And as I said, I've supported leaders and staffs from California to the Cayman Islands, so there's no place too nearby or far away for me to visit.
Do you have any upcoming events that you're going to be speaking at or doing presentations for?
Yes. Well, I actually don't. And I would love to. So here's your time. But I am coming off of my first TEDx, which I did in Inslee, Alabama, just 2 weeks ago. And my topic, From Problem to Principle, and unlocking those labels and stereotypes leading into potential. And so I know that's pretty lengthy, but the short of it is From Problem to Principle. And I have a couple of other signature talks. And so as of right now, I am working with individual schools, providing leadership support and doing some internal and embedded PD. But wow, I would love to visit more schools this spring and summer, and even into the start of the school year as we are kicking off back to school time. I would love to be the keynote or provide some professional development training, so they can reach out to me. And also on my website, they can check out my 4 main signature talks.
Thank you so much. So there you have it. She is not hard to find, Dr. Turney. Multiple ways to contact her. And so, Dr. Turney, I thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great.
Thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure.
And there you have it, folks. From message to movement, winning at being you. Change happens one person at a time, 1 second at a time. Let's go.